This pandemic has spread faster than any disease in modern history.
Angry mobs roam the city, burning buildings.
Authorities are bracing for more rioting tonight.
He was knocked unconscious. He had severe
A citywide emergency has been declared.
The CDC has quarantined the lower Midwestern region of the U.S.
This has certainly been one hell of a year. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FlameHisWorld end of year retrospective for 2020. I am going to be entwining a bit of playthrough retrospective here with a bit of a personal retrospective here, because I feel like they kind of come together a lot more than usual, even though that's always been a thing over the last few years. This is the year where I feel it's really started to show. You'll probably see what I mean as I get into this, but I'm going to start out, as I usually do, with the FlameHisWorld playthroughs from 2020. The first one was the tail end of the Professor Layton and the Curious Village playthrough. It was about the second half or so that I finished up early on in the year after starting it last year. And this playthrough, I will say up front, this is probably my favourite playthrough that I've done, at least in terms of the end result. By that I mean since I first opened the channel back in 2012. That's how much I like how Professor Layton and the Curious Village came out, because it just lent itself so well to the format that I've been trying to do with this channel for years now. And that's because it's quite a tightly structured game. You have the story segments, which are the visual novel kind of elements of the game, and you also have the gameplay puzzle elements, which are their own distinct thing. What that meant is that I was able to divide up and structure my commentary accordingly. So for the more thinking out loud kind of commentary that I like to do about presentation, about setting, story, that kind of thing, that fit nicely into the more visual novel elements, and the more focused gameplay commentary fit nice and snugly into the puzzle sections. So I could talk about how the puzzle worked, the logic behind it, whether I worked it out myself or whether I had to use a guide, stuff like that. And it's quite rare for that to work out quite so smoothly, but it did work for Curious Village, and I'm very happy about that. I will say, this is the kind of playthrough that took a lot out of me to record, and I don't mean that to be melodramatic or anything. I just mean that when there's such an obvious structure to follow, any takes that don't quite fit that, they stick out like a sore thumb. So there was a lot of working my way up to recording the videos, and the fact that each of the chapters in the game, at least most of them, are quite long as well, so recording each video would be like a little project in itself, especially the ones that were like an hour long, you know. I don't know if you guys have ever tried it, but it's one thing to talk with your friends for an hour, but to essentially talk to yourself for an hour, that takes a lot out of you. It's worth a try if you don't believe me on that one. And that's why a lot of those longer parts were actually recorded in chunks, just so I didn't burn myself out. I have a habit with my voice in that it tends to sort of go a bit dull, go a bit sort of sounding tired and that if I've been talking for a while. So I have to sort of step away from the video for a while and just come back to it later, just to avoid that drop off in quality in my delivery. So what that meant is that it would take about as long to record one video as it would usually take me to record about 3 or 4 videos, and then obviously because they're longer videos they also take longer to edit as well after the fact, and that's usually when I start to realise that maybe a take wasn't so good, and that's when I would have to splice in some extra commentary on top of that. So it was a very big project, but I am glad that I followed it through because, like I said, it's one of my favourite playthroughs that I've done. Whether I'll be doing the sequels is another story. If I do, it probably won't be for a long time yet, because I have to commit myself when it's feasible. And that playthrough took me months on end to do, so I don't really want to have another huge project quite so soon. After that was the Slipstream playthrough, and this was the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This was a live gameplay racing game playthrough of a really fun little indie racer, and I knocked that out in 2 sessions. I think I recorded the first couple of parts in one session, then I just sort of went for it and knocked the rest out in the next one. And that actually felt kind of good to do, because although like live playthroughs, I'm sort of on the fence how I feel about them. Sometimes they can be fun, sometimes they can be a bit messy. But that one, it was a fun time to record, and I had a pretty quick turnaround, which is something that's quite rare for FlameHisWorld. You know, like, it does feel good to get something done. And that, I feel like, is also something that I'm going to be coming back to when I go on more of a personal discussion toward the end of the video here. Slipstream, probably not one of the most memorable playthroughs I'll ever do on the channel, but it's a fun game. I'm glad I showed it off, and I'm glad I did that commentary. The other game I did a playthrough of in 2020 was Man Xtreme. This took forever to get done, despite the game only being about 2 hours long. And this is one of my hang-ups with how the channel has worked this year. So, my process with the Man Xtreme commentary started off pretty much like how all the other 2D platformer commentaries I've done in the past has gone, in that I just recorded all the footage, got the parts cut up ready, and just started doing the talky talk over them. For the first couple of parts, it was okay. It is another Mega Man playthrough, so I realise that the commentary is never going to be amazing. There is only so much I can say about Mega Man, and this is like, I want to say about the 15th Mega Man game I've done at this point, but they were okay. They were okay as far as Mega Man Xtreme playthroughs go. But then I started recording part 3, and I'm not going to pull any punches here. That video was shit. I was not happy about it. It was one of them cases where I'd been faffing around with it for so long, and I just had to settle with what I had and put it out there. I hope anyone who watched that video enjoyed it despite that, but if you didn't, I'm sorry. The effect of that video disappointing me and leaving me disappointed in myself is that I sort of subconsciously and then later consciously just started putting off part 4 longer and longer. When I finally got a takedown that was passable for part 4, I wasn't too happy with that either. It wasn't until I recorded the finale that I was actually sort of content with something that I'd done for the first time in weeks at that point. I feel like having a video that I don't like that I've made is one of the biggest demotivators in what I do, and it has been for a very long time, and it's only recently that it started to flare up to me that this is becoming a genuine problem. I'm realising more and more now that I've crossed the threshold between quality control and perfectionism into insecurity, which is a huge problem. It really is. It's taking its toll on me mentally, and it's stopping me from enjoying something that I would otherwise enjoy. Like, I didn't start up this channel to be frustrated with myself because I can't deliver a bit of critique of a game well enough. You know, I started this channel to just shoot the shit about video games. And I feel like that's standing out more because the one video that I really did enjoy making and that I did like quite a lot in the Man Xtreme playthrough was actually the bonus video I did. That wasn't planned at all. That was just something that came about because when I was researching for the finale and I was looking to different reviews from when the game first came out, I saw someone mention that the game doesn't run very well on the original Game Boy, and I thought, I'm curious about that, I'll go have a look at it. And when I booted up the ROM in the Game Boy format and I played it, and I thought I might as well just record this and show it off, and that would be something interesting to wrap up the playthrough with. And that captured why I started doing this thing in the first place, because it was just, I'm intrigued by a game, I want to talk about it. I'm sort of realising, and it's begrudging saying this because I am far too stubborn, and that's something else that I've been for far too long now. I need a bit more spontaneity in what I do. That's something else that was captured in the Slipstream playthrough, because that was just a game that I thought, you know what, I haven't played this in a while, let's make a playthrough. And it came out okay. So, I feel like as a goal for next year, in regards to the channel, and also for my own well-being at this point, I need a lot more spontaneity. I'll need a lot more moments of let's just make a playthrough for the fun of it, and if it's not completely perfect, that's fine. As long as it's reasonably entertaining, it gives people something to watch, and I had a good time recording it. That's the sort of entertainment value I need to focus more on. I feel I've gotten myself too invested in this whole of I've got to make the perfect playthrough, got to make perfect delivery. Any trivia I give, it's got to be at the exact right moment in the game for it to make sense by my own arbitrary standards. And yeah, I'm stumbling over myself trying to explain this, but over the last week or so I've just been thinking about this. I've had some ups and some downs, and I just thought, when this gig is going well, it feels great. And it's only because of my own shortcomings, my own stubbornness, me letting my anxiety win, that it ever becomes actual work. So, as long as I can keep a decent level of quality control, I need to change my perspective, have a bit of a paradigm shift here, and just focus on having fun, and hopefully the fun will shine through. I feel like given this is a very bizarre way to put this, because at the end of the day what I'm doing is talking about video games, the source of my insecurity that I've finally clocked onto is the stuff where I want to go really in depth with analytical commentary, with critique, even if it's my own head up my arse critique sometimes, which I've been getting better at, but that has been a thing in the past. That has stemmed a lot from insecurity, because I'm aware I'm not the most charismatic person out there. A lot of entertaining Let's Players out there, part of what makes them entertaining is they have a very charismatic delivery, but that's not me. I'm more of a laid back, I'm more of a just talk about things as it comes to me, and where it doesn't come to me, I've got to compensate. And it's insecurity. I'm beating around the bush here, but it's insecurity. And that, I know it's kind of it's a cliche to set New Year's resolutions, because when you frame it like that, you're almost guaranteed to fail. But if I'm setting myself a goal for next year, it's to come out of my shell. It's to shake off all this other bullshit that I'm arbitrarily building on top of myself. And hopefully, by this time next year, I'll have another handful of projects that I'm proud of. Now, the other goal that I have in terms of the channel, and this specifically is in terms of the channel, at least in terms of the content for the channel, is to hold off on posting videos until I'm a significant way into the project. This has been a problem with almost every playthrough I have ever done, in that I would start posting the videos, I'll get a few done, and then something would happen and there'd be a delay. And nothing kills excitement for a playthrough more than having a delay. It seems to be a given, a curse if you will, that I'll get a few parts into an LP and then I'll get a sore throat. It's nearly every time I'll get a sore throat, or I'll get a cough, or feel sick for something. It happens every bloody time, and I've come to accept that, and I feel like the best way to keep that going and make that affect the channel less is to just back up the parts until I've got a decent backlog. So it might mean there's bigger breaks between playthroughs, but it will mean you won't have cases where part 3 of something comes out in August and then part 4 of that playthrough comes out in like October or some shit, because that's a genuine problem that's been a FlameHisWorld problem for God knows how long at this point. But I feel like that's enough dwelling. That was actually kind of cathartic to get some of that stuff off my chest, and it's actually making me quite excited about some of the stuff I'm going to record next year. So if this video serves no other purpose, it's I guess a bit of fucking therapy for me, but the one thing that's been missing this year, and you can probably piece together why, but something I've been missing nonetheless, are the group projects that I usually do with Chris and Stephen. That's down to the constant on and off quarantines. While I guess we could have tried to record remotely like I do with HFC and whatnot, there are reasons that we haven't been able to do that, and that comes down to stuff that I don't really want to get into, but there's also the fact that one of our strengths, one of the things that works really well for the three of us, is when we're just in the same room together and we can just sort of bounce off each other properly. We haven't got to worry about, oh, Discord cut out, Discord made it hard to hear what you were saying. And it just makes it a lot more natural, and I feel like that's the strength of that dynamic. So hopefully once the obvious is out of the way, once COVID dies down, and once we stop having all these fines in place for seeing people, then hopefully we'll be able to get some more playthroughs done. We did actually pick out a game, and then just as we were getting ready to set a date for it, we had the first quarantine kick in, and that pushed all that back. But yeah, whenever we get the chance to meet again, like in person, and record stuff, the next playthrough we had lined up was Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, which is one I've been wanting to bring to the channel for a little while now, and I feel like that could be a fun LP to just shoot the shit over, have a good time with. I'm gonna give a quick mention to some of the other projects that I've been involved with this year, just before I wrap up. On HellfireComms, I've been in the Pokemon Sword playthrough, and that was both the main game and both DLC packs. I don't think there's going to be a third one, so I think it's pretty much complete now. But that was a fun one. There were a few strong parts, there were a few weak parts, but on the whole I feel it was pretty good. Titanfall 2, the playthrough, it was okay. That was one of them playthroughs, started strong, ended strong. In the middle it was a bit kind of bland, I'll admit, but it's fine. Sonic Rivals was Sonic Rivals. Sonic Rivals playthrough was the Sonic Rivals of playthroughs. That's probably the best way I can put that. And my favourite one that I did on HFC this year was the Sonic Rush playthrough. That one, I got a good rundown of the gameplay, and it was just a fun commentary overall. The other major project that I want to acknowledge this year that I'm very happy with how it went down for the most part was the Super Nintendo-thon, which once again we raised quite a lot of money for the Child's Play charity, a lot more than we expected. I think we were expecting about $4,000 and we broke $9,000, which was genuinely amazing, especially considering that there's a fucking pandemic going on. I did some runs that I was happy with. There were a couple of failed runs. There was the Super Mario 64 run, which I was incredibly ill prepared for, and the Donkey Kong Land run, which I was also ill prepared for. So they didn't get finished, but I did have some runs that I really liked how they came out. The Super Mario Odyssey race, there was, I think, 12 seconds difference in that between the winner and loser. That was a really fucking fun race. Kirby's Epic Yarn and Star Allies were both decent, if a bit sort of tame, quiet playthroughs. Did a bit of a Pokemon Stadium 2 showcase, did a Pokemon Dash showcase. I played some Wii Sports, which for a shut-in who doesn't really do much physical activity, that was a thing that happened. We had a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament, had a Smash Bros Ultimate tournament. Also, one of the incentive games that I ran was Excite Truck, which that may actually get FlameHisWorld treatment at some point. Not promising anything, but that's just a wacky fun game that was a lot of fun to show off in the stream. So yeah, I am getting to the point now where I can feel myself getting ready to ramble. So I'm gonna wrap it up and say thank you to everyone who stuck by me personally and FlameHisWorld as a channel this year. I know it's been a weird year to say the least. Next year may pick some things up, may not. I can't predict the future. Thank you all so much for watching, and I wish you all a very happy 2021. I'll see you next year for some more videos. Bye bye for now.